Hello friends, approximately 4 billion years ago, life began on Earth. After billions of years of evolution, numerous species of plants and animals evolved. All these trees, plants, animals, and creatures that you see today, all of them exist due to evolution. One of these species is Homo sapiens, that is, humans. But the question arises, if humans came from apes, then why do apes still exist? Why didn't all these monkeys, chimpanzees, and gorillas evolve into humans? Such questions are often asked by people. Some people deny evolution. They say it's a lie. How true is this evolution theory? Is it merely a theory or a fact? And how did these different types of animals evolve? Let's find out in this video. Let's begin with clearing the biggest misconception. Evolution theory doesn't claim that monkeys became humans. Instead, it claims that all chimpanzees, gorillas, monkeys, and humans have the same ancestor. And that ancestor is not alive today. If you want to visualize evolution, imagine a tree. A tree starts with just one stem. Then it grows branches. Then it grows smaller branches. If it keeps growing such, you see the tips of the tree. Those endpoints are all the living creatures that exist today. But one question that will still linger in your mind is, why did some of our ancestors evolve into humans, and some into chimpanzees and some monkeys? Why? You will get the answer later in this video. In the year 1859, Charles Darwin wrote the historic book on the origin of species. In this book, he talked about the theory of natural selection. Now, when you hear the term theory of natural selection, you might feel that it is a mystical thing. There must be some complicated inner engineering in all living beings. But no, it's actually very simple. Whenever there is reproduction, whether it is in humans, animals, trees, or plants, genes pass on from one generation to another. Our genes pass on to our children, but the genes pass on with certain mutations. There are slight changes in the genes. You can see some variations, and these variations are often inherited by future generations. For example, if you have brown eyes and your children have green eyes, it means that a mutation has occurred in their genes. The genes that decide the color of the eyes mutated. It is possible that the next generation of their children will also have green eyes. Often, these variations are beneficial and harmful, depending on the environment. Some survive and some die out. This process is called natural selection. For example, let's say a frog, which is brown in color, lives in a jungle. It has 5 children. 4 of the 5 are brown in color and the 1 is green. The green frog can disguise itself well and can camouflage itself among the green trees. This gives it an advantage. One day, a predator comes and eats the brown frogs because they are easily visible. But this green frog is not spotted, it is safe, and so its descendants are also green in color. In a similar way, broadly speaking, the theory of natural selection works. Here, a term is used, survival of the fittest. Many motivational speakers misuse this term by saying that only physically fit people will be able to survive. People imagine that only those who have big biceps, triceps, and six-pack abs will be able to survive according to the theory of natural selection. But this statement is wrong. Fit doesn't mean the biggest, the most powerful person. According to Charles Darwin, fit means the one who fits best in the environment around him. Here, the environment doesn't mean just the climate and temperature around you. It also includes the plants and animals around you. Who fits the situation the best? So whether you are fit or not can change with time. During the era of dinosaurs, due to natural selection, some evolved to be huge, because a bigger size could easily protect them from their predators. But on the other hand, when there was a lack of food, being fit meant downsizing, so that the food requirement could be reduced as well. So some evolved to be smaller in size. Similarly, some animals evolved to have more hair on their body so that they could get more insulation in the cold, like polar bears. With their thick fur, it is easier to stay warm in cold weather. But on the other hand, some animals like humans evolved to have less body hair, so that it's easier to regulate their body temperature in summer. Now that you have understood the basics, let's understand how evolution happened. On the tree of evolution, if you go back in time, you will find common ancestors with every species. Humans and monkeys have a common ancestor. Humans and cows and buffaloes have a common ancestor. All animals and trees and plants have a common ancestor. If we go back in time, it began approximately 4 billion years ago. The Earth was vastly different at that time. There were no continents on Earth. Earth was covered with only water. And this water is where life began. What was the first organism? Scientists have given a very simple name to this first organism. They have called it the first universal common ancestor. In short, it became Fuca. At that time, there were no genes, no DNA. There were just some free-floating nucleotides which assembled into an RNA. This RNA made a molecule called PTC and self-organized to form Fuca. The first ancestor for all of us was not even a cell. Today, we call cells the building blocks of life. But since Fuca was not even a cell, was it even a living thing? Was it living or non-living? It's difficult to imagine, but imagine a virus. A virus is neither called living nor non-living. A virus cannot grow or reproduce on its own unless it is in a host's body. Imagine something like this. I won't go into the technical details here because that would need a separate video. How in the beginning there were only a few elements which became nucleotides and then RNAs. If you want me to make a separate video on this, let me know in the comments. But for now, let's move ahead. 3.8 billion years ago, Fuca evolved into a unicellular organism. We call it LUCA, last universal common ancestor. All the living things on Earth, trees, plants, animals, bacteria and fungi, all of us have a common ancestor, LUCA. Scientists believe that it must have been a prokaryotic microbe with a cell membrane. You must have studied the difference between prokaryotes and eukaryotes in school. Eukaryotes have a proper nucleus in the cell, whereas prokaryotes don't have a proper nucleus. Scientists have estimated that there were about 355 genes in LUCA. These 355 genes are found in every organism living on Earth to date. But this is a very new discovery. Scientists discovered this in July 2016. William Martin of the University of Düsseldorf made this discovery. 4 months before this discovery, scientists created the smallest synthetic cell that can survive and reproduce on its own in a laboratory. There are 473 genes in the synthetic cell, but in LUCA there were 355, fewer than in the synthetic cell. That's why LUCA is classified as half alive. It wasn't properly living. Scientists believe that the viruses we see today must have started evolving either before LUCA or the viruses must have started co-evolving with LUCA. Because from the very beginning, viruses have played a crucial role in evolution, even though the COVID-19 virus was the black sheep of the virus family. But, for our survival today, everything needs some virus or other. With LUCA, we saw it reproducing through cell division. And evolution took place after millions of years when LUCA branched out into two, bacteria and archaea. These two microorganisms are very similar to each other. They differ slightly in terms of the cell wall and plasma membrane. Many billions of years later, a very special type of bacteria emerged due to evolution, cyanobacteria. This was the first bacteria to be able to do photosynthesis, using sunlight to generate energy. Water was used as fuel and the end product was oxygen. When a lot of cyanobacteria in the ocean used photosynthesis, a large amount of oxygen was released into the air. This event is called the Great Oxygenation Event. This led to high levels of oxygen in the atmosphere. This event took place 2.2 billion years ago, but evolution had to step in here to make the DNA stronger and more protected. This led to the formation of the nucleus in the cell. DNA was kept safe inside the cell so that it could be protected. Secondly, after millions of years, we can see evolution outside the nucleus in the cytoplasm. Some types of cyanobacteria turn into chloroplasts. This is why all plants and trees are able to photosynthesize today. This was the birth of the plant kingdom. On the other hand, since there was an abundance of oxygen in the atmosphere, an ancient bacteria decided to use this available oxygen, to use oxygen to generate energy. This was the beginning of aerobic respiration. This bacteria evolved further inside another archaea to form mitochondria, which is now known as the powerhouse of a cell, an important element in all eukaryotes. Later on, these eukaryotes split into 3 sub-branches: the animal kingdom, fungi kingdom, and algae kingdom. The algae kingdom is also called protista. Here you can visualize the tree of life being born. Initially, there are 3 branches: bacteria, eukarya, and archaea. And then eukarya branched out into plants, animals, fungi, and algae. Scientists are still debating whether the eukaryotes originated from archaea, or if archaea and eukaryotes are 2 separate branches with a common ancestor. By now, you must be thinking about when will we get to monkeys evolving into humans. Here we are still talking about bacteria and microorganisms. Some people are ashamed that humans are related to monkeys, and here we are talking about bacteria.